Hey friends, it's Jennifer with the Passionate Papery Company. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I am playing catch up on my altered cards. I haven't done some in a couple of weeks, and so what I'm going to do is pull out quite a few cards, and I'm just going to start with some white acrylic gesso, and I'm just taking my spatula and just spreading them out on all of these cards that I have here. Usually when I do these, I do them in several at a time, just so that I can have them ready whenever I pull them out. And so that's what you're going to see me do here. So now I'm going to take some Distress Spray Stain. I picked this set up at Joann's and Joann Fabrics, and the blue is called Speckled Egg, and the green is called Peeled Paint. And I'm just going to take these colors and spray them on the cards. The gesso is still wet, and then when I get done with this, I'm just going to take some mica sprays that I have made on my own, which is where I just take mica powder and mix it with some water in spray bottles and just spray some different colors on the cards. There's some yellow and purple that I've used, and a brown color, and I'm just kind of spraying them on there and playing with them, taking some alcohol and water and putting them on the card, and then I'm just going to go through and dry them. And so after I've done that, I'm just going to re-wet the surface here and just lay down a paper that I had printed some words on, some quotes on, and those are what I'm going to use on some of these cards. So I just absorbed up the rest of the ink and on that paper, and I'm allowing it to dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to dry the rest of these cards that I had sprayed different stuff on. And now I'm just going to take my crop punch, my corner crop punch, and I'm just going to punch the colors. And here are the words that I printed off on my printer, and I just absorbed the rest of the ink and the sprays on them. And so now I'm just going through the cards, trying to pick out a couple that I'm going to use to decorate. So this is card number 10. I thought that I had filmed it, but I didn't. And so I'm just going to show it to you here. It was a Christmas card. And I just took decorative paper, Christmas paper, and just put it on there and made it like Dutch doors, I guess. Made a little ornament, had a little pre-cut ornament, and just punched it and put it on there. And on the inside, I just painted it green, used some napkin, and used a Merry and Bright sticker and put 2023 on it, and a Noel sticker on the front. So that was card number 10. So now we're just going to work on card number 11, which is this one right here. So I got these from Temu. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Temu or have issues with people ordering from Temu, but I had to see for myself. And I think that their craft stuff is pretty good that I've used. So this is just a paper in a pack that I had, and I'm just using my tearing ruler, and I'm just going to rip up some of this paper and use it on this card. So now I'm just going to ink around that paper that I've torn, and I'm just going to try to place it on the card. And then I pulled out a couple of other things Here is a little ephemera piece that I think came in a pack from somewhere, so I'm just going to ink that and use it on the card. I've also made this, printed it out on some colored paper, just it says 15 cents. I'd printed them out and used my stamps and created that, so I used that on there. And I've got some thread pieces, leftover thread, and so now I'm just gonna cut out these words, one of a kind, and I'm just gonna cut them individually. And so once I figured that out, I'm now just going to glue everything down that I have gotten out on this card that I liked on it. So that's what you're going to see me do here. So I took it over to my sewing machine and I stitched around the edges, and now I'm just inking all of those edges. And so here is card number 11, one of a kind. And I love how that turned out. I usually just write the number on the back of the card so I can kind of remember which one is which. So now I'm just going to pick out another card here to work on, a couple of cards maybe. I'm going to go ahead and number those just so that I can kind of keep up with it. Again, I've chosen another quote that says, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." So I'm going to use that on one of the cards here. So I had seen here lately, crackle paint has kind of made its way back into the mainstream. I had tried this crackle paint recipe using just glue about 10 or 12 years ago, and I thought that I would try it again. And I didn't look it up, I just tried to remember, and I think it was you laid the glue down first and then put the acrylic paint over top of it. And so that's what you're going to see me do here. It didn't work out exactly like I remembered it, and then afterwards I looked it up just to make sure what exactly the recipe was, and I did it right. It's just I forgot that you have to let the glue dry just a little bit before you put that acrylic paint over top of it. But I like the way that this kind of turned out anyway. So it did crackle in some places, but it wasn't like I had remembered that it crackled before. So that's all this is white glue, and then I put acrylic paint on top of it. But you should let your glue dry just a little bit before you place that acrylic paint over top of it. And then, of course, to make it crackle, you use a blow dryer or a heat gun, and that's what makes the cracks. And so you can see in some places that it did crack a little bit, but it wasn't cracking as much as I wanted it to. It was really just sort of more of a texture mess. And so I took my scissors and a couple of little things and just tried to poke the holes in it because, again, I was trying to dry it. And then I just went up taking my spatula, and they were forming some bubbles on there, so I just tried to pop those bubbles with the spatula, and it created some pretty texture, but it was still pretty thick. So I wound up just scraping some of it off with the spatula, but I like the way that it turned out. The texture turned out really, really good. So here it is. You can see it did crack in some places, but then it didn't crack mostly like I wanted it to, but I still like the texture on it. So now I'm just going to take those words that I've already inked and I'm just going to glue them down onto the card. So here it is, and I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and I stitched around the edges. And because the texture was thicker in some places, the stitching went all the way through, so I really like the way that that turned out. Then of course I'm going to ink the edges. So this is card 11 and 12. So now for card 13, I just picked out another card, but I decided I'm going to take some book page and I'm just going to hand draw a heart on there. And then of course I'm going to go over it with a marker to make it stand out more. And then I just took, after I cut it out, I took a pen and just kind of filled in between to make it look like it was, several heart shapes there, kind of put together, thin heart shapes. And I inked around the edges. And then I just was going to lay it down on the card. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue it on there. Now I'm just going to take another quote that I'd printed out. And I'm just cutting those words up. I'm going to ink them. And I made these printout on my computer. I just used some shapes and put some numbers inside of it. And I'm just cutting one of those out. It's the number 13. For the card number 13, I think is what I was thinking. And I took a scrap piece of fabric and just peeled frayed the edges off. And so I laid that down. And now I was going to put that number on top of it. So I'm just going to glue all of that down to the card. And now I'm just going to glue the words down onto the card as well. And so now I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and stitch it around. And then I'm going to ink the card. And then here is card number 13. It says, "Different is beautiful." I'm just going through and picking out another card for 14 and 15, and I'm just going to go ahead and number those on there so I'll know which card is which. 14, that's another printout that I had made on there. And these are some scraps that I had, and I used an edger punch and punch the edge. And so you can see me it's a book page and a scrap piece of paper, and I'm just going to glue that down on there. So over the Christmas break, I had made some of these little circles. They're half circles, pockets, I guess. And so I'm going to use one, and I'm just going to, there's a little ticket already inside of it, so I'm just going to use it and tear off a piece of fabric strip there and put through the hole in it to make a tag, and I'm just going to glue that down to the card. And so now you're just going to see me attaching everything to the card with glue once I like the way it looks. I'm attaching some thread to this card as well. You'll see me do that in the corner. Now I'm just going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch around the edges, which I've done. You can see here. And I really like that card. It turned out really, really well. So for card 15, I just took a scrap piece of paper that I had already. It's one of these scrapbook pages that I didn't love, and so I tea-dyed it, and then I just cut a piece off there and laid it down with some washi tape. These are some other printouts that I made on my computer and printed it out on some tea-dyed paper. So I took this one over to the sewing machine and just stitched around it. And so I'm going to lay it down on the card. There's another just little black and white piece of paper that I've decided to make. You'll see me make like a little tab out of it. Here's some extra paper, and I used it to make like a ribbon, like a paper ribbon, and so I put that down. So then I took a tab puncher and I punched out an extra piece of paper, and you can just see me going around the card trying to place it everywhere. And then I finally decided at the top. And so here's card 15, and I'm going to take it and stitch around it on my sewing machine. And now I'm going to take my alphabet stamp collection here, and I'm just going to stamp the number 15 on this card. And now here are all of the cards together. You can see card number 10, card number 11, here's card number 12. It's the one where I tried to use the crackle paint. Number 13. Number 14. And number 15. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think. Have a good day.